Good morning, church. Hope you're doing great. I can't believe it's already 9:05. Man, this morning has just smoked by. And hope you guys are great. We're in Revelation chapter 22. That is the last chapter of the book, if you can believe it. It's hard to believe. But let's get into it this morning, and we can read this wonderful chapter. It says, "Then the angel showed me the river of water of life, as clear as crystal, flowing from the throne of God and of the Lamb." It's really common that we've seen this term throne of God. You might want to look it up and see how many times it's used in the book, but it is used quite a bit. I'm not going to tell you how many times it's used. You got to look it up. But you can look it up and you can find out that a lot is happening from the throne of God. And so we see that that is where things come from, is obviously the throne of God and of the Lamb. So we saw that all the way back in Revelation chapter 4, and it just continued that theme, right? And it's interesting, right? It showed me a river of water of life. And so we're going to see a lot about life, just like we did in the last chapter. So instead of death, now we see life. So we saw that there was a first death and second death. You don't want to take part in the second death. And now we see things that are living life, kind of Garden of Eden-like, very renewing, a new heavens and new earth. And we get to verse 2, and it says, this river was down the middle of the great street of the city. Now, if you just remember, the city was the New Jerusalem. And it's kind of interesting, but Jerusalem's small, right? So sometimes when I think of the New Jerusalem, I think of, man, that's a tiny place. Like, how are we all going to be little tiny people in there? But we saw that the dimensions of the city are quite large, and that's an understatement. It's huge, right? And it's this giant cube, and there's other different commentaries that think differently about kind of the way this thing was shaped and everything like that. But and you can go down that rabbit trail definitely if you want. It's kind of interesting. But we just see that Jerusalem is a theme throughout the Bible, right? I think of Melchizedek back in the book of Genesis, all the way back in the very beginning of the Bible, man. This guy is king of Salem, right? The king of the place of peace, the city of peace, right? And so we're introduced back then to this place, Jerusalem. And it just kind of goes on, this great city, Zion, the hills of Jerusalem. And we see this theme also in the book of Revelation, where, remember, Jerusalem was seen as a place like Sodom and Gomorrah at one point in the tribulation period, really radical, where the two witnesses end up dying and that kind of thing. Well, here we see in the new heavens and new earth, the New Jerusalem is likened to a bride. And I always wonder what things are going to be like when things are renewed and new and different, and it's like when you're a kid. I can just imagine, like, remember when you're a kid and you go into Disneyland, and man, you're just like blown away. It is super new, right? Like your first time ever going to Disneyland, you just like everything about it. Just everything about it. You walk in and there's this bed of flowers, and there's like Mickey Mouse on the flowers, and there's a train going around the place, and you walk in and there's Dumbo and Pluto and Snow White and Cinderella and there's Main Street, USA, and you're going down there, and it's just like your mind's just you're almost in another like state. And it's really beautiful, and God, I just try to wrap my mind around these concepts that are in these two chapters, 21 and 22, and it's hard to do so. Now, the reason why is because just as we don't understand the really nature of the Garden of Eden, it's really hard for us to understand the nature of the New Jerusalem. Hey, Pam, by the way, hi from Channel Islands. Now that's a sweet spot, that's for sure. Rivermouth, I used to surf Rivermouth, eat at Surf and Taco, and Silver Strand, surf at Silver Strand, and then obviously C Street up in Ventura. I love that place. And hope you guys are doing great over there too. But just dwell on that idea that God is in the business of renewing all things. And this really leads us to something cool this morning, and that is the omnipotence of God. That God is all powerful. He is able. He is able to do something mighty to change us. And that's just a wonderful idea and thought. You know, you might make a little progress on the planet, and that's true. Like, we might make some progress. We might, you know, hey, we no longer do that substance, or we don't do that anymore, or we don't do this. And it's a relatively, it could be a minor, it could be a major thing in our life, and as well, and moves us to maybe a different, a better productivity in the world, and that's for sure, our time here on the planet. But relatively speaking, compared to what we're reading now, the changes that we make right now seem quite small compared to what God is going to, the jump we are going to make into this leap of the future is absolutely mind-boggling. And it doesn't seem like God needs to have nanotechnology to do this. Any kind of, he doesn't need to alter something with us. He does it all with himself in a natural way. This is the natural, immortal life. That's right. That might be a good way to put it. This is the natural way to live an immortal life right here, not through other means, that this world is always trying to find. It's through coming to Jesus. And the Bible always tells us that we were made for eternity, and we are made in the image of God, and now we will be the ultimate image bearers. We will be able to be what we were always meant to be, reflections of our Creator in a perfect sense. And man, that's just super powerful. When you read about these chapters, you always have to remember that they're so loaded with a lot of Old Testament passages. So there's going to be some in here too as well, that if you just referenced back to the Old Testament, or maybe got into a BibleGateway.com or a Blue Letter Bible, and you put in certain phrases, you're going to see those phrases pop up in other places in the Old Testament, and you might want to read that. It might help you out. So John says this river comes down the middle of the great street of the city. On each side of the river stood the tree of life. Wow. Remember the tree of life? Wow, that was back when you first started reading the Bible, right? Very beginning. And all of a sudden, here it is again, right? The tree of life. And it says, on each side of the river stood the tree of life, bearing. So on each side of the river stood the tree of life, bearing 12 crops of fruit, yielding its fruit every month. And the leaves of the tree are for the healing of the nations. And that's mind-blowing. No longer will there be any curse. So, like I said, laws of thermodynamics gone away, but how does these trees produce? What is the cycle? How is this thing functioning? Because we're so used to things functioning in our box, right? In the way our system works here on the planet. But how does it work there? What is the science there? I think we're all going to be scientists at this point. We're going to just be super excited to find out how these things work and the amazing intricacies of God. And we might know atoms more than we've ever known atoms before, and how things function in their proper place. And it will be mind-blowing, that's for sure. No longer will there be any curse. The throne of God and of the Lamb will be in the city, and his servants will serve him. So we see not a distance anymore, but we see a closeness, right, with God. The throne will be close, right? It's right there. And it says they will see his face. That's another Old Testament idea, right? Seeing the face of God. And his name will be on their foreheads. The mark will be on our foreheads, right? We saw that all through the book of Revelation, that we have a title ourselves, right? That shine God. It's our identity, right? And it says there will be no more night. They will not need the night of a lamp or of a light of the sun, for the Lord God will give them light, and he will reign, and they will reign forever and ever. So a lot of victorious language here for sure. The idea of light, by the way, remember the last chapter we saw these gems, right? 12 of them. Could be, by the way, that could be a reference to the priestly garment and the 12 stones that were in that garment. That's something you can go down if you want. But it's definitely bright, and I don't know about you, but I remember like when me and Sylvia would, or friends would come out of a club at night, and we'd be in like, South Central, or we'd be in, Compton, or we were in the inner city. And we were there all night. I mean, I'm talking like, 2 in the morning to 8 in the morning. And when you come out of that place at night, the sun is like super bright. I mean, it like, boosh. I mean, you can't even, it's so hard to get your eyes to adjust. And I just can't even imagine what it's like, though, to, you're going to have new eyes, obviously. So in the resurrection, thank God we're going to get a new set of eyeballs. That's for sure. Because you're going to need to have that kind of redeeming eye set just to be able to see what's going on here, right? You're not going to need the sun because God's going to be the sun. I mean, he's going to be that bright. That's pretty bright. So pretty intense, right? You're not going to need any of the light, the reflection light from the moon, because you're not going to need it. So the angel said to me, these words are trustworthy and true. The Lord, the God of the, it says, these words are trustworthy and true. The Lord, the God of the spirits of the prophets, sent his angel to show his servants the things that must soon take place. So pretty exciting, right? Soon take place. Now, this little, what is it called? Like an epilogue, I guess it is, like a kind of the ending. Is that what it is? It might be wrong there, but anyway, you think of Jesus coming. That's kind of what we're wrapping up here. It says, behold, I am coming soon. Blessed is he who keeps the words of the prophecy of this book. First promise, right? Blessed are those who keep the prophecy in this book, right? The words. Hold it dear. I, John, am the one who heard and saw these things, and when I had heard and seen, I fell down and worshipped at the feet the angel who had been showing me. But he said to me, do not do it. I am a fellow servant with you and with your brothers, the prophets, and all who keep the words of this book worship God. So you see that John falls into idolatry again, second time. Boom! Idolaters can't get in. That's what it says. It'll say that a little later on down the road. Idolaters, sexually immoral, can't get in the kingdom. John's out. No, I'm just joking. John's not out because he's given his life to Jesus Christ, even though he still struggles like now, right? Isn't that radical? What an amazing concept that's going on here. That, I mean, it's just bizarre to think that the Revelation is saying, hey, at the end it's saying, we've already saw it in 21 and we're going to see it in 22 again, where it says, hey, the idolaters and everyone who loves and practices falsehood is not part of this. Okay? And so, but we see the unfortunate John as a fallen man at this time of the revelation that's given to him. What does he do in his fallen nature? He bows to the angel, and what does the angel say? Worship God. So the angel twice in this book has to tell John, you're worshiping the wrong person. You're giving obeisance, honor, and that kind of idea to the wrong being. And so John himself falls into what we call a sin. Can you believe it? Yeah, John himself. And And I hope that gives you some courage today and some excitement to go, I can work on my stuff. I don't have to shy away from the things I need to work on. I do need to work on things. The scary part is for us humans is when we kind of don't think we have anything to work on. And no, we do got things to work on. John the apostle bows to not to God, but to an angel twice in the book. Especially at this time, it's really bizarre because again, the admonishment we're going to get in this chapter in verse 14 or 15 is outside of this city are the dogs, those who practice magic, arts, pharmakeia. That's where the Greek drug use, sexually immoral. The word porneia doesn't mean you practice. It doesn't mean just porn. That's not what it's talking about. It's talking about all kinds of sexual deviancies of God's original design. Adam and Eve, one man, one woman, for life, no departure. Murders, idolaters, everyone who loves and practices falsehood. So that's the radical thing about that. So I'll end there because we still got a little time to go. I guess we still have maybe another couple days. We'll get through the book, but behold, I am coming quickly soon. Right? He's coming quickly soon, and blessed are those who keep words of the prophecy of this book. Yeah, don't shy away from this book. This book is about intimacy. It's about coming together. God is omnipotent. He can do something that's radical. And you think he's changed you now? You think you're close to being like Jesus now? You wait. It's gonna be mind blowing. It's gonna be so mind blowing. We're gonna need a new mind, a new set of eyes. So hey, you guys have a great day, okay? And hope you just dwell on some of that good stuff, okay? The Lord loves you, and you can bring Him anything that you're working with today. And just pray, lift it up to the Lord. Okay? We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.